Hey ladies, welcome to the WOE podcast where we have intergenerational conversations about topics that are important to women. I'm Kristina Davis and my co-host is
Ashley Sardik.
And we have an amazing guest with us on this episode today. Today, we're going to be talking about holiday traditions and all of the things that happen during the holidays, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we're just going to celebrate a little bit, cry a little bit. We don't know what's going to happen. All I know is that you are in for a great surprise. So let me take a minute to let our special guest introduce herself.
Hey, everybody. It's Minister Tam. I am so grateful to be here. I've been watching the W.O.E podcast. It's been amazing. Great topics, great conversation, and I know today's going to be just as good.
Well, we're excited that you're here. So I just want you to know that these two are friends.
Yeah.
So the cackalackings that's going to happen between, they both have the best laughs that I've ever heard. Ever. So we're excited about this episode, and we just want to jump right on in. So y'all, it's the holidays, right?
Yes.
And when you think about like Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, like what's your favorite holiday? We'll start with our guest.
Yeah. I feel like in my 20s, I really loved Christmas because you get to see your little babies open up all the gifts. Now I'm really a Thanksgiving person.
Yeah.
Really love Thanksgiving because I feel like it is totally centered on connecting with one another as a family, playing family games, learning new recipes, cooking, even going back and forth to the grocery store. I think I was the runner this year, going back and forth to the grocery store and getting everybody.
Because we always forget something, right?
Yes,
you always forget something
every year.
Something.
Absolutely. Or even you're trying to overthink about what this person might like special. So I really love just seeing the dishes, commenting on meals. My daughter loves specific people's mac and cheese. And I really love Thanksgiving. It just brings the heart of family. I love it.
It does. What about you, Ashley?
Man, I think I actually love the entire holiday season. So the funny story, my first job when I was in high school, 16 years old, I worked at the Bonton, if you remember that.
The Bonton.
Yeah.
Is there even still a Bonton? There is. There's a Bonton.
Are there?
Yeah.
So I worked, that was my first job. And so I always did like Black Friday or I felt like Christmas always started like right after like Halloween. You know what I mean? And so I felt like when I was in high school, that sort of took the nostalgia of the holidays away because I was always working for some, in retail, people are not always the nicest. Like they were rude to me.
Were you nice?
I mean,
you were nice. Okay, all right.
The customers, they were like rude. So I think by the time I got to Christmas, I was like, I'm done with the holidays. I can't do it.
Yeah.
But now, you know what I mean, that I'm in a different season of life and I have my kids. There's just something about your house being decorated. You know what I mean? My tree up. Even at the end of the night, the fireplace is going and everybody's on the couch just watching a movie. Like, I just love that time. So the whole season does it for me. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to have to agree with Ashley. I love the whole season. I can't wait until like October 31st and everybody starts concerning themselves about Thanksgiving. I can't wait. Like that makes me so excited. And for my family, like Thanksgiving is a really big tradition. I like Thanksgiving because we get to share about how grateful we are, one to God and then for one another. So we have a tradition, and on Thanksgiving, well, first of all, we eat a lot of food, right? So we have we have breakfast. We start our Thanksgiving off with breakfast. And I know a lot of people, just wait for that one meal and just starve all day long.
Yeah, I'm glad you do that.
We do breakfast, so we go all out, guys. We do quiche, we do chicken and waffles, we do shrimp and grits. Like, we have a big breakfast, but we really start our breakfast because we're all pretty much early birds, so we start at like 9. We eat our breakfast around 9:30, 10 o'clock. As soon as we finish our Thanksgiving service, we are eating. We're ready to eat. And then we take a break and we sit down and we have written out cards to one another. We pick a name and we write out cards to say what we're grateful to God for, one, and then what we're grateful for that person for. So, and then they share. Really we share with one another. I have them from like I think you were there one year, and I have your cards, you and
Yeah.
Raymond's cards from one of the
very
years.
cool.
So,
That's
like,
wonderful.
we just keep them, and then the next year, like this year, I gave them last year's cards.
Wow.
So that they could see if any of the things that, oh, and then there's one thing that you want God to do. And and they get to share, like, yeah, God did it, So,
I think I'm gonna adopt that one. That
yeah,
one's
I think it's cool
good.
to have traditions, and
is.
I will definitely take somebody else's tradition if I like
yeah,
it.
yeah.
I definitely will. If
love
I
that.
like it, I'm instituting it. But that's something that we do. But then, of course, Christmas, you get to give gifts to one another, and I feel like this season, gifts are so thoughtless. Like a gift card, I think gift cards are thoughtless.
I
Like
understand.
you didn't put any thought into it.
I hear
Buy
you.
me a gift card and.
Right.
Yeah.
But buy something that you
Yeah.
think is thoughtful. So I'm really big on that. My kids are like, gift cards are fine, Mom. Get over it. You're old.
Right, right.
I feel that way about wrapping gifts.
Yeah.
Like my husband could just throw something in a bag, and I'm like, we're
Wrap
not
your
doing
gift.
that.
Wrap the gift.
Wrap the
Wrap
gift.
them.
So you give them a roll of wrapping
Yeah.
paper and tape.
I do.
Yeah, my mom was like that. She was methodical
I am
about wrapping.
Very
Yeah.
I want them to open it up and be excited by
Yeah.
this grabbing it out of bag. I'm the same way with it.
No,
Yeah.
I think I love that part. I mean, isn't that the part of Christmas?
Yes,
Is
it
opening the
is.
gifts.
It
So,
is, yeah.
yeah. So what traditions do you guys have?
Yeah.
Well, I want to talk about the one from when I was a strong, meaning when I wasn't married. My father made us on Christmas morning, before we could open up a single gift, we had to read the birth of Jesus.
We do that.
Do you?
Yes, yes.
Such
we
a
do
good
that.
tradition.
Yes.
And I just believe that traditions are not just traditions just cuz, but they're like legacy carriers.
That's right.
So
That's
even though
Yeah.
like he did that, that's something that I don't do. We do read the birth of Jesus as well, but we now have communion as the Williams family on
Yeah.
Christmas morning, just to
That's
be
so
a little
good.
different
That's cool.
from what the
love
Strongs
that.
did. But my dad had to sing a hymn. It was a Christmas hymn, and we had to read the story of Jesus. These, we could not touch a gift. Don't even touch a gift until that was read. So I love that, because now that kind of carries on just
Yeah.
in some form. I'm hoping to my children.
It will.
As well.
It
Yeah.
will. You'd be surprised about how your kids will
Yeah.
continue the traditions that you have. What about you, Ashley? You have
Yeah, I mean, I would say for Thanksgiving and Christmas, my sister and I's tradition is that we stay up all night and we cook together.
Oh, that's
Yeah, so we
great.
play music, watch movies, and it's just the two of us in the kitchen. The girls start off, they're the cheese shredders for the mac and cheese, so they'll like shred the cheese and then they go off to bed. And then it's just my sister and I up all night laughing and cooking, and then she'll always spend the night at my house,
I
and then we
love
wake
it.
up on the holidays together and finish up. And then my sister's tradition with my girls, so she actually last year she started doing a cookie series with them. So like 3 weeks before Christmas, they make a different holiday cookie, and she comes. She's at my
Wow.
house every Wednesday with them. So every Wednesday they sit. She like orders in delivery for them, and they sit and make a different Christmas cookie.
Wow,
Yes.
that's
So
cool.
Aunties,
cute.
the real
That-
MVPs.
aunties are the real
The
deal.
real
They really
MVPs.
are.
Every auntie out there, keep
Yes.
doing
To
it.
all the aunties out
Aunties,
there.
we need you.
Well, as a Davis, once I got married to my husband, one of the traditions that they had is Christmas Eve, and they all get together on Christmas Eve, and we do exchange gifts that day because everybody has families. So
Yeah.
on Christmas, nobody's expected to drop off gifts, but we sing hymns and a Christmas song, Christmas hymns,
Yes.
and then we read the story of
Yeah.
Jesus, and then everybody shares what they want God to do in the following year.
That's really good.
So and out loud. So
That's
you can
great.
imagine when the kids are like teenagers, they're like, "Bless my whole family." Like it's very.
I can definitely see that.
But then you get to see them evolve,
Evolve,
right?
yeah.
From the one sentence answer to like, I really want the Lord to do this for me this year. So, over the years, I've got to see all of my nieces and my nephews just kind of evolve and share what they want from the Lord, and just see how God is moving in their lives. So that has been
That's
great, being a
special.
part of that tradition. And even though my husband's father has gone on to be with the Lord, we still kept the tradition
Yeah.
going. So,
That's
and
so
I'm sure
good.
that we will, each of us and our families will continue no matter what. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Good.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, so some traditions that we have. All right, let's talk about food.
Yay,
boy.
come
Let's
on,
talk
we
about
gotta do it. We gotta do
food.
it.
Like,
And Pastor K
what
is a whole
do
chef,
you-
y'all.
She's a chef.
She's a
Like,
whole
So-
chef.
Now I do like to cook,
Yes.
so and every year I'll tell you one of my traditions, and Tam has been at my house for
Yeah.
the holidays. Every year I come up with something new.
Yeah.
I try to feed it to them like a month or two ahead of time.
Taste test.
To taste test, like, hey, would you guys like this for Christmas? And I add something new to the
Yeah,
menu.
yeah.
So whether it's in our hors d'oeuvres, because we have an hors d'oeuvre
I have
hour.
had that,
Yeah.
and that is
So
very
5
tasty.
so 5 o'clock. Yeah, 5 o'clock we do hors d'oeuvres, and then 6 o'clock. Now I started doing dinner late for a reason, because I have 3 children that I have adopted, that I mothered, and I never, and they all still know their moms and whatever. So I always wanted to make room for them to either take time to call their moms and their families and connect with them, or to go and see them.
Yeah.
So, and most people have dinner at like 2.
Yeah.
Like, is that 2? That is
we
a
do
thing.
4.
Yeah, we do
4.
late. Like
You
4
do
or 5
late?
o'clock.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Well,
Yeah,
I thought I was
like
the
it
anomaly.
early. I acclimate
Yeah.
to everyone wanting to do it late, but I like the middle of the day.
Yeah, I thought that's because you starve in the morning.
You
If
do.
you had breakfast
right.
in the
If you had
morning,
breakfast.
You are telling
if
the
you
truth.
had that breakfast, I
You are
promise
correct.
you,
You are
6
correct.
o'clock, you'd be like, oh, I'm ready now.
Right.
You
So
are
we
right.
have the 5 o'clock hors d'oeuvres, and then we have dinner at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
And you know how you need that extra little few minutes to get stuff
Yes.
done? That's
Yeah.
what hors d'oeuvres
Hors d'oeuvre
is for
hours
us.
for, okay.
It's really
Those hors
that.
d'oeuvres are
Yeah.
delicious, I
Yeah,
must say.
and I love it. So Tam and Raymond joined us for
Yeah.
Christmas and Thanksgiving a couple
yeah.
of times, and her husband's a chef too.
He is.
Yeah.
So
I
this
can't
one
lie.
time, he said, "Well, I'm gonna bring potato salad,"
Yes.
and I said, "All right."
Yeah.
But he said, "But I'm gonna do something different with the potato
Mm-hmm.
salad, and I want to try to." I think he brought 4 different.
Yes.
Was
I
it 4
like,
different types of
goodness
potato
gracious,
salad?
Yes, in 3 different
Yeah.
pans.
So we
yeah.
got to taste all of
3.
these different
Yeah.
potato salads, and one had bacon, one was plain,
yeah.
was the regular,
Gotcha.
and then I actually ended up liking the more exotic
Yes.
potato salad. I did.
I love
I did. I'm not gonna lie. Raymond, shout out to you. That potato salad was
Yeah.
on the
Very
money.
good
But
cook,
yeah, so Ashley, what do you make special for the holidays?
Oh my gosh. My
Everything. Because she's a
Everything.
chef
She
too.
is.
We had too much food for Thanksgiving this
Did
year.
you?
It was like the whole counter was full. But my sister and I always have this concern we're not gonna have enough. But then I think we like overdo it. We like overdo it. So I think maybe one of the new things that we've been doing is we always add a Caribbean or a Latin American dish.
Okay.
Yeah. So this year we did Spanish beef steak, which is really good, which is like a stewed steak, and then we did arroz con condules, which is really good. So like
Yeah,
rice and
we
peas.
can't even say
Right,
that.
yeah, right.
Say that again. Say it again slow.
Arroz con gandules.
All right.
Yes, yeah. So like rice and peas. So that was really good. Other years we'll add like a curry chicken or something like
Yeah.
that, because my dad is from Barbados, so I think
Yeah.
it's like an ode to him. So we always have some type of Caribbean side on top of the traditional things. Now this year, my biological dad came in town. He deep fried the turkey for us. We had deep fried Cajun
Oh.
turkey. Woo! That thing was out of sight. It
Now
was
see,
so
I have
good.
to taste this deep fried turkey, because actually I'm over turkey. Like I am. When
I
I
am
tell
too.
you, so
Yes.
we stopped doing turkey like 3 years ago, and we
Yeah.
went to turkey wings.
Yes.
And so I did a variety for Thanksgiving. I did jerk, which I always do a Caribbean
Yes.
meal. Also something Caribbean on the menu. So I did jerk wings on top of a bed of curried rice.
Yes. Yeah.
And then I did regular,
Right.
regular with
Yeah.
gravy. So,
yeah.
but I was like, yeah, I'm not doing the turkey, because the carcass is just
It's a lot.
sitting there like.
And I'm a sides person. Like I like the sides
too.
for the holidays.
Yeah.
But so I think to make a bridge between myself and then the rest of the family that wants it, I was like, well, we're gonna have to change it up. So that's when I tried the deep fried.
Okay.
And then
But it was good.
It was good. So
Okay.
it was good. I was
All right.
eating on that for a couple of days. So.
I've heard it. I've heard that this makes the
Yes.
chicken makes the turkey really
But it's dangerous
tender.
though. I feel like so. My
Yeah.
dad did it. I don't don't think I would do it on my own.
Yeah, we had it one year. My family came up, and if my family watches this, I hope they do, because I need them to remember. We were in our other house on the other house around the corner, and we had a porch, a big porch.
Yeah.
But the ceiling of the porch was wood. So they just my cousin, my family member, decided to deep fry the turkey on the porch. And almost caught the whole porch on fire.
Wow.
Yeah, it's scary.
Now it was worth it. It was. I do believe I had a small piece, and it was worth it. But putting out the fire, it's those stories you have,
Yeah,
and I think
right.
that's all a part of the
The
holidays
tradition.
too.
Yes, it
Like
is.
the stuff that happens
Yes.
and the games. Do you guys play any fun games?
We do. I heard you guys have fun
We
games.
did. We did have fun games, and we're super competitive in my house. So you know, when they pick teams like intentionally with like strengthening their
good?
weaknesses.
Yeah.
Like, oh
Ooh.
yeah, you do your charades good with me.
Yes.
So yeah, they're cheaters. I think they're a little bit of cheaters. So, but you know,
That is so funny.
and I just kind of hold back my strength until the time is right.
Until the time is right.
That is so funny. So let me go ahead and give my take on food. I'm the sous chef.
She's the
everybody.
sous chef.
I'm the
Yes,
sous
yes.
chef. My husband is a really great cook. He's from Louisiana, so he absolutely cooks things on a whole nother level. I'm in charge of like baked goods, the games. I'm the person that's kind of hanging out with the family and doing all that. I am going to get back to my favorite dessert and cooking that. But here's the thing. I love my position. I love my place and position.
Yes.
These ladies, they are so gifted and talented. But you know, I love mac and cheese. I love making sweet potato pie. I do make that as well. But I absolutely love eating my husband's food and my mother. They just are so great, and
Yes.
I love coming over and eating all y'all's food too.
Yeah.
See, I think you know, when you are a cook, you're the boss of your kitchen.
You are.
You don't really
Yeah,
want
yeah, yeah, yeah,
anybody
yeah.
It's true.
to disrupt like your flow. Like, I mean, I'm really strategic. I have a schedule.
Yep.
Like what time everything goes in and
Yeah,
what
I
time
love
everything goes out. I put timers on my phone. It's way over the top. It's just way over the top because I need it to be organized. Chaos.
Yeah. Well, I feel like when you like to cook, if something gets overdone or
Oh,
it's
yeah,
not
I'm not
right,
happy.
I'm like, just throw it
Not
out.
happy.
Like
Not
I can't.
happy.
There's
happy.
something about it.
Yeah, my husband
So-
observes me. So if I'm cooking, he's just like looking. I'm like, you know
He's-
what, sir?
He's trying to see if you're doing it right.
Absolutely, because
Yes.
he loves food. He's a foodie, just like Pastor K. That's where they meet at the
Yes.
foodie place. So I've accepted it. I love it, and it was delicious.
But listen, my mom doesn't cook. My
See,
mom did
hey.
not cook for 25 years. And now she literally, now that my dad is not here, my mother orders in everything.
See.
I'm like, Mommy, what did you eat today? Oh, I got some chicken wings from Fresh Market. I said, Mommy, who goes to Fresh Market for chicken wings? Number one. I was like, you're not even going to a legitimate.
You're like, Mom, you know how to make wings by yourself.
I said,
you
and then
know how to cook the.
So are you
know how to
telling your
cook the-
coworkers like at work like they think that we're negligent daughters? Like there's a lot going on here, Mom.
That's
But
so
yeah,
funny.
she never cooked the whole.
But hey,
she
it's
didn't
a
like
blessing
it.
to have a husband that
blessing.
is a
Aren't
chef.
you lucky?
I'm
mean,
a blessed
No,
woman.
My
Brandon
husband
don't.
just,
No,
he's the
Brandon
taster
don't.
and the smeller. That smells good. Can I taste anything? Like, he's
Brandon does a great
yeah.
job, babe. You did.
Yeah,
Brandon,
it's
you
fine.
did an excellent job with Thanksgiving. I said,
Yeah, it's
thank
fine.
you.
I don't need my husband in the kitchen at all. I love you, babe, but it's okay. It's okay
Yeah.
that you don't cook.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine.
love it.
We're going to be fine without you.
That's good.
But yeah, so I think it's important that we establish, especially as women of God,
Yeah.
like establishing those traditions where family can come together because, you know, it is God first, then family.
Yeah.
And then everything else. And although it's not always taught that way, or it doesn't always fall into that particular order, that's the order that God created it to be. So when you have those opportunities to just really, really spend time, intentional time with your family, having the person who has all the games and who's fun, like Tam, the good cook, and like all of the elements,
Yes.
every part of it is needed.
Because they really remember it.
Yes.
It's so
They
funny. You
do.
think
Yes.
that your kids are not kind of intaking all that's happening.
But they
They
are.
are. In October or September, they're already going, I can't wait for what we're about to do.
Yes.
We go see the lights also during Thanksgiving, go and
Yes.
see Christmas lights. So they're remembering. So you guys, let this be an encouragement. Do those traditions because
Absolutely.
they're
Right.
really
That's right. You hear what she
intaking
said?
them.
Do the tradition.
Do them.
And I'm gonna tell you how it worked out to my benefit. So maybe about 6 years ago, and I'm always I'm the head of the kitchen. I got sick on Christmas morning. I made breakfast. We opened up all our gifts, and then I had a fever.
Uh-oh.
My fever just kept going up because I was trying to do all of these things. And my daughter said, Mom, we think you should just go lay down. We got it.
Ooh.
And I said, okay. And they said, okay, under one condition. Can we wake you up if we don't know? There's something. I had a fever of 104.
Oh, that's really
There were
serious.
25 people downstairs in my house.
Oh my God.
And I could not move. So they would come up, bring me water, bring me tea, and say, and while I'm up here, how long do I cook this? What do I put in this? What's the special seasoning? Can you give me the recipe, the special stuff that you do? And I was just giving out these things. And when I tell you, my family raved about how well my girls did
That's so great.
with the dinner. I mean, now the prep work was done the day before. Now y'all do know everything was prepped and seasoned and all of that the day before, but they killed it. They
That's
killed it. So
amazing.
when you say they remembered him,
That's so
that is
cool.
so true. They remember, your girls will remember, and when it's the right time. For me, it's next year because I'm older than y'all. I will not
you're
be
like,
cooking.
look,
Hey, come
I
on.
would
I'm
like to
wasting up the
turn.
time.
I would like to turn my kitchen over to my girls next year. I really would,
Yeah.
and just let them do what they do. So we'll see how that works.
all right, head chef.
Yeah, we'll see. Right. I have one daughter who says, "You're not gonna let us. You're not gonna do it. You're gonna come in and try." And she might be right, but we'll tell you next year if
tell you
I
next
made it
year.
through the holiday.
Funny. I love it.
But a lot of other things happen during the holidays too. I know both of you have experienced loss. Both of you have lost. You lost your father just recently, and we're so sorry for your loss. And you lost your stepfather last year.
2020.
2020.
Yeah.
And so that happens. So you walk into the holidays without that person.
Yeah.
And it changes the whole atmosphere or just how you feel. So that warm, fuzzy, it's Christmas time feeling that you may have had before is mixed with grief of that person not being there. So share with us how you guys deal with that in this season.
Yeah, you sure?
Yeah.
We got tissue here.
Yeah,
I
right.
told you there may be tears.
Yeah. So my dad passed away in June 2020 when the world was shut down.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting before. So at that time we had moved from Cleveland, I want to say March.
Not that long. Y'all
Yeah,
just got
not
here
that
in March.
long. So
Y'all
that
got here the day before.
Yes,
things
shut down. Yeah, but that in and of itself was the grace of God that I had that little bit of time with my dad, before he passed. But before, when I was in Cleveland, one of the elders at the church, we were sitting in Brandon's office and he randomly came in and he was like the visitation, pastor. And so he said to me, how's your dad doing? I know that he's been really ill. And I was giving him updates. He was like, listen, I want you to, what I'm about to say is really weird, but what I want you to do is to grieve your dad before he passes.
Wow.
Because when he does pass, you're going to be consumed with taking care of your mom and your sister. That he was like, after that, you're going to collapse under the weight of this if you don't take the time to process this in advance. And I'm grateful that I heeded what he said, because I think the hardest part probably of my dad passing is that even though I came back here, I was afraid to give my parents COVID. And so I think I only got to see him maybe 3 times in that small span of months. And then we weren't able to have a funeral or anything like that. But when he passed, I had, that scripture that we read all the time that talks about, like, don't be anxious about anything, but pray about everything. Tell you what you need. Thank God for all that you've done. Then the peace of God, which transcends all understanding. I had no idea what that scripture. It was just something that I said. But when my dad passed away,
You had to really
I had a
walk it
whole
out.
new understanding of like what that tangible peace of God that transcends understanding. But it was because I had heeded that advice to be able to grieve my dad. But I think the part of grief that is interesting is that you have like random trigger moments. You know what I mean? So I remember like I was literally, so I said my dad is from Barbados. I literally was cooking curry chicken around the holiday and I'm in the kitchen bawling my eyes out on top of curry chicken. And it was just the scent of the curry chicken that just triggered me back to my dad like that in an instant. And I was like, Lord, what is happening? Like, right, and I'm literally crying over a pot of curry chicken and rice and peas because I'm just remembering, like, my dad taught me how to cook this dish. You know, like I remember we had an international food festival at school, and I decided to cook curry chicken, and that's what my dad taught me. And he had this joke. I would always say, like, Dad, teach me what you're cooking. And he was like, no, you just have to watch me. And we would laugh about it. And I thought my dad was just being funny, but now cooking, he was like, no, I legit don't know. Like,
a sprinkle of that. It's a lot of tasting.
Yes. But that curry chicken recipe, I think because I was so nervous, like my dad gave me a couple hints. And so I just think it was the combination of the flood of all those memories that like came back to me in that holiday. So I think that's where it started with us, my sister and I now having the Caribbean dishes at every holiday. Because it's just
That's
little,
a great way to celebrate.
It's just a little taste of my dad being there, which is like weird. Like I know he's in heaven living his best life. Hey, but you know what I mean? It's just that centerpiece for us at the holidays. So I think for me, the way that I have dealt with it is giving space for the triggers. Yeah. I think a lot of times you just want to brush over them because you're just like, your instinct is, well, just get yourself together. But it's okay to have that moment. Like that was a real moment for me in the kitchen by myself. Like I miss my dad. Like I miss him, So
it's like grief doesn't have it doesn't have a time limit. And it also doesn't have a particular time and space when you are allowed to grieve. You have to allow yourself the space. I love that, to feel the triggers and to experience the grief. And Tam, yours is more recent.
Yes, it is. And so what I want to actually go first because now I have my thoughts together, what I really want to say. But what she said made me think about the biblical word lament. And to really actually take a moment to lament a certain thing. So as I'm newly into this, as I went down to Carolina, even as I drove to Carolina, I was remembering the last time I was there was to bury my father. So that definitely was new, but like you guys are both saying, not to brush over it. Because I think sometimes in Christianity, we are taught to just, I don't know, just say everything is good. Yes, right. And not necessarily deal with some of the heart spaces. And so when you actually lament, that means you're taking your grief to God. That means you're taking your concerns to God, your thoughts to God, and not holding it in. Because I think some people think that just being strong or not sharing or pretending that you're okay is what a good Christian should do or should be like. And so I'm learning that God really sits with us in our laments and that he's like, come bring me that question. Come bring me your heart. Come bring me your concern. And so during Thanksgiving, I had not been back to the gravesite until I went for Thanksgiving, and I went, and some people find peace there. I was able to just pray to God there and just like not avoid it, because I felt like I had gone April, I buried him, and then I'm like, I'm going to avoid. But then I decided to go back and just have my moment of saying, this is where my father rests, talk to God, share my heart, and not necessarily try to avoid. And so that's kind of what I think as we walk through the holidays, that avoiding doesn't always, it just doesn't help. It builds up and you become like this firecracker if you're holding stuff in too much. And so the memories are hard. Like, let me be real. Like in the house with my dad's, where he used to sleep, his clothes, all of those things are definitely triggers and the memories just come up. Like you said, there's they just come up automatically. You're like, wow. But I feel like I am learning to have my moment with God and just really sit in whatever emotion I'm having and not let it overcome me, but say, I'm feeling this way and be able to take my heart to God and actually lay men. Because David did. David said, God, look, this guy is coming after me. So, you know, and if we really look at the Psalms, David did lament. There's a whole book of Lamentations where they're talking about the seasons
and he
that we
inquired of the Lord. He had questions.
That's good. He had questions
for God.
Absolutely. So I feel like that's a method that I'm learning to deal with grief in a healthy way versus pretending like I don't have any of those hard questions for God. So I am definitely newly in it, but I have tried when I'm feeling agitated in my heart or I'm feeling a little like rough under the edges, I'm like, okay, this means it's time to go to God. This means it's time to go and talk to him about the real deal Holyfield. Now remember, I think it was Brandon who said that discouragement or some type of grief breeds devotion. So even in the midst of that grief, you might think that man, let it lead you towards God and not away from him.
From God. That's good.
Yes.
Well, you know, we're praying for you.
Thank you.
And for those of you who are out here, this is, you know, her loss is recent. Like, keep Minister Tamara Williams in your prayers as she walks through the season of grief. This will be the first holiday
the first Christmas
without your dad. So we are just, we're really holding you up as you walk through this. And, you know, me and her were talking a couple of days ago about moments when you're angry with God about the people that you've lost and how you lost them and you know, and why, you know, and not feeling guilty as Christians about asking God, inquiring of God. That's Psalms 22, where the first time we hear the words, my God, why hast thou forsaken me?
So good.
From David. You know, we think Jesus is, Jesus said it he said it in the garden, but, you know, David said it also, and he didn't stop there. Like, he went on a whole rant. He went on a whole rant with God, and I was like, damn, read it. You know, read it. And I said to her, you know, there have been times where I've been hurting or, you know, and I've not lost a parent, so I have no idea how that feels. But I have lost a loved one, and I've been angry with God about, like, why'd you have to take my grandmother or my father-in-law or whatever, and I didn't trust myself to say my own words because, you know, they might not be as eloquent. Right. It may not be as eloquent as David. But since you approved David and it's inspired by the Holy Spirit in your word, I figured until
you're like, according to Psalms 22.
David said, and I'm echoing his words by saying, why have you forsaken me? And early am I seeking you, and you're not there. And in the night I'm seeking. And I have said those things to God. But, you know, we come from a generation. I definitely come from a generation where you don't question God. You don't ask God why, you ask God why not. But as you grow and mature and learn your word for yourself, you realize, like, inquiring of the Lord is okay. It's okay to say, God, I have some questions for you. And it helps you with your healing process. And the other thing we don't learn a lot is how to hear from God, learning to hear God's voice. So when you add the two elements together of, I can question you, but if I know how to hear your voice, then you can answer me.
That is wisdom, what Pastor K just said. I just want to just kind of chime in on that because that's so key. I need to add that to the lament because after you grieve and after you're sharing this bothers me, you have to take a moment to listen and hear what he has to say back because he wants to give us fresh perspective. He wants to share his heart towards us. So I'm often even encouraging people who come to me with some of their issues, even in this season. I'm like, share it with God, but stop and listen too. So that was good,
Yeah.
Pastor K.
Yeah, that's good. We what sayeth thou?
Yeah. Well, and I think it
That was so King
right,
James,
yeah,
right?
What sayest thou?
What sayeth thou,
Yes.
Ashley?
Well, I think it took me back to Matthew in the Beatitudes where it says, "Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted."
Yes.
Like it's a promise. Like
It's a
it's not a might.
promise.
It's not that they may be. It's that they
Yes.
will be comforted. And so sometimes in your comfort, after you've asked the question, right, that you get the answer. That comfort, that's literally like an undergirding.
Yeah.
So God is like, I'm literally gonna undergird.
I got
like that's
you.
what I think about. You
Yes,
know what I mean when I
yeah.
think
So
about that.
good.
So He's like, I'm going to be there. You know,
Yeah.
like that is what it is. Yeah.
And it all goes together. So
Yes. Yeah.
you ask questions, God answers, and
Yeah.
then he does what he does best. He sends the comforter.
Yeah.
To comfort us and to give us that peace that surpasses all understanding, like you said. So
Yeah.
it all goes together. So I'm just grateful that you guys are you're further in your process than
Yes.
you are,
Yeah.
but that you have God. And isn't it a blessing that we don't mourn like the
Come
world?
on. Let me
Come
tell you
on.
something.
Yeah.
Like, because we have God,
Yes.
Listen.
we grieve different.
Yeah.
We handle trauma different. We handle issues different because of our relationship with God. And like you said, when we realize who God is to us, it changes the perspective of how we see things. While there may be a why did this have to happen, God, there's a according to if it be thy will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's always the if it be thy will, God.
Yeah.
And there's that moment of obedience that literally transcends all of your emotions,
Yeah.
all of your feelings. And when you say that, you think of Jesus making that statement that take this cup from me, but
Yeah.
I feel like there was a long pause.
Right.
A pause. Ooh, and a deep breath.
Yes.
And I honestly can say that Pastor Kristina has known me a very long time, even from early on in my marriage. I've been married almost 18 years. Walking
Wow.
through, I know, walking through grief matures you in a way that you get to see the word come alive.
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't know him as comforter until you need to be comforted.
Comforted,
You don't know
yes.
that we don't have to mourn as the world does until morning shows up and you're like, wow, I'm not walking through this. I'm not burning in the fire. And though there's sadness and the memories and all those things are real, the word just really comes alive in those moments. And God is just super present. I'm grateful for him walking me through thus far. Not going to deny the hard moments, but I'm so grateful that his word is true.
That's so good.
Yeah.
And God
That's so good.
understands.
He
I think as well
does.
too. Like he lost his son.
Yes.
Like it was no end. I mean, so we're in the Christmas season right now. Like God knew the end before the beginning. He's the Alpha and Omega, right? So when Jesus entered into the world, God knew immediately that like there was going to be a loss.
That's right.
There, you know what I mean? And
Yes.
so God is a compassionate God. And so when we're bringing our grief to him, like he understands that. Like scripture says, there's no affliction that's uncommon to man. Like God understands, like he understands our grief. He's a compassionate God. He's a sympathetic Father.
It's that omniscience
Yes.
of
Yeah,
God.
yes.
That, like
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
all things.
Yes.
So, and
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
nothing that's too big for God.
Yes. Yeah.
That
yeah.
we deal with, and
Yeah.
many a times we think our issues, we make them mountains,
Yeah.
and we want God to make them a mountain with us, and He's like, "But I move mountains.
Yeah.
First of all, I created mountains, and now I move
Yes.
mountains, so I'm not intimidated
Yeah.
by that. But what I do want is I want your pain.
Yeah.
Right.
I want you to give me your pain. I
Yeah.
want you to give me your hurt. And I want you to I want you to share your emotions. And I
That's
think
so
that's why
good.
it's so important, like relationship.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you get to, when you are in relationship with somebody, it's not just like friendly. It's, you go
Yeah.
beyond that, and you want that
Yeah.
person to know how you feel.
Yeah.
We need God to know how we feel.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I feel like I focused. My dad has been was sick a while, and I think the hurt for me really started in 2022. And he passed in 2024 April, and then so after he passed, I feel like he's been in this rebuilding of like my ability to be a friend of God again. Like, come bring me your stuff. Because I felt like I was, when you're in the storm, woo, you don't really always get to grieve it. You're just trying to keep your head above water. And I feel like now I'm able to really lament and grieve the spaces that I really didn't get to grieve when I was in the midst of, tending to my sick parent. But that whole principle of just coming to him speaking back is just so relational, it's deep. That's what makes our faith absolutely amazing,
absolutely.
because we get to do that.
So this season, like, what strategies are you using to navigate the holiday season without your loved one? And I'll just share something with my husband. His father, passed in 2004, and I'm sorry, 2005, and we had someone had this beautiful painting made of his dad. So while we were getting ready for the holidays, I bought one of those picture lights to put over it. And it was watching him, like, strategically, systematically put this light over so that it had just the right glare. He had to turn the light on ahead of time so to see, like, where on the picture is the focus going to be. And I think I was prepping food, but just watching him put the light over. And then he was standing on a ladder, and he just was standing there. And I was like, "Are you okay, babe?" And he said, "Yeah," but he was just standing there staring at the picture and just having one of those grief moments like you talked about, where it just came on him. And he just, and I know there were tears, but I don't want to say you were crying, babe, but there was tears over there. It just was a moment. And I thought it was so beautiful to watch him embrace the memory of his father in that way. So and crazy, because the night at the end of Christmas, I was like, "Oh my God, did you turn out the light over your dad?" And he said, "Oh yeah, I turned it off when I finished looking at it." And I said, "Okay,
That's
okay."
great.
But so what strategies do you have in place to deal with?
You know what I've been thinking about? I really have been accepting the fact that I am a tripart being, meaning, like, yes, we get the word, but then I really struggle. It was a little bit of the seasonal stuff, like really focusing on my vitamin D. I mean, this is just me being in the natural of saying that I have to focus on my body a lot too, because I feel like that affects my grief too. Because if I'm eating horribly, which, you eat a little cookies here and there, right?
Holiday,
And then you're
We
not
talked about that
right,
already.
and we're not working out at all, then I feel like the heaviness of it. So the way I'm choosing to combat it is sometimes, like we've been talking about, water, and just, I mean, that's a natural remedy, but I really want to talk about that as well with Black women too, that we need vitamin D in our bodies in order for us not to have that kind of shift in our emotions sometimes. So I've really tried to be on top of that. I haven't felt the Christmas one. Thanksgiving one was okay. I had to be honest, I had to cut myself off eating at a certain point because I just started to feel really weighty and heavy. So for me, my body I'm an ex-athlete, guys. So I feel it in my system. So I have really tried to work on just focusing on, okay, how are my mind bringing my emotions to God, my body, how am I feeling? Am I intaking a lot of water? And then in my grief moments, having my moment and not being afraid. I know my husband is just like, okay, she's telling me another grief moment. I just thought about my dad, and letting myself cry. So my strategy is just being aware of how I'm feeling, how my mind, my body, my emotions, not being afraid to say, this is how I'm feeling. I need a moment to get away, because I did do that for a minute. I escaped. Let me go to my room for a second, breathe, go back down with the family. So I have kind of this strategy of being aware, and I think everyone's kind of aware of me, and just saying, okay, she's going off for a minute. She'll be back down. She's coming back down with us.
Yeah, but I love that you're saying, in the midst of your grief, take care of yourself.
Yes.
Like, make yourself a priority,
Thank you,
because
Pastor K. You said that
depression can come upon you and cause you to mishandle your body if you're not careful. So I love that you are encouraging people, because even though she didn't say it was for y'all, that's for y'all to take care of yourself while you are processing your grief. Because why have two people gone if you don't take care of yourself.
Yep.
And it's important that while we're grieving. So I love that. Thank you. What about you, Ashley?
I think mine centers around actually my mom and my sister. So around the holidays, I'm very watchful over them, and I listen like very intently to the things that they're saying. So my stepdad, although he was in my life since I was like 3 years old, he was my sister's biological father.
Yeah.
And so when we were growing up, like my mom and I were thick as thieves, and then my sister and my dad were like inseparable, right? And so kind of similar to the relationship that you had with your dad, like my dad was my sister's everything. That was her ride or die. And so during the holidays, I try to be very watchful, very mindful of just how she's doing, the things that she's saying. I look like sometimes I'll be staring. She's like, "Why are you staring at me?" I'm just
making sure you're okay, right?
I'm glad you said that, though. I'm
And
glad
I know
somebody's looking
she's
out
a
for
little
us.
fuss box. So she's like, listen, Ashley. Ashley, stop it. I'll let you know when I need you.
So I just try to be watchful. And then this has been like a long-standing tradition. I don't know why I have taken this on, but I always try to be like the curator of like the most specific, like I think an incredible gift for my mom. I don't know why I have taken that on since like my dad has like passed, and I did it before, but I always try to listen throughout the year to something that she like says that she really, really wants, and then I try to make sure that she has it.
And Miss Marilyn was spoiled.
Yeah.
Miss Marilyn is
Marilyn,
listen,
if you're watching.
your stepfather spoiled your mama.
Spoiled.
Yes.
She is so
But
spoiled.
you know what I love? I love
yeah.
because during the time when your father was sick, I had the opportunity to talk to Kim and your mom when he was at the hospital, and Kim was the one carrying like making sure your mom was okay. I think you guys were away at this point, so your mom Kim was doing like all of the heavy lifting. So hearing you say that, but she still needs someone to care for her. That is such a great, that's a great transaction between you and your sister and you and your mom, that you are taking care of them and making sure that they're okay during this time. So Kim, let her take care of you, okay? I know you're watching, so let her take care of you. And mom's going to get the best gift, and she deserves it. I love Miss Marilyn, and I love your whole family, and I love your family too. And just grateful for both of you and just all that you guys bring to this ministry. Even in sharing your pain, you have no idea how many people out there that you are blessing. So I just want to end with this last question and have you guys do this for our audience that's out there and give them an encouragement of give someone who recently lost a loved one who's navigating this seasonal depression at this time, like just give them an encouragement out there.
Yeah. Oh man, that's so good. I think the one thing that
Well, tell them.
Oh yeah, you're right. Sorry. So
They're out there.
I would say the thing that comes to mind for me is that grief has stages, right? And so even though the beginning of those stages might be like, anger or like bargaining with God, like, if you didn't do this, I'll do that, different things like that, or dealing with sometimes what feels like the immense pain of it, that the other ladder of that is that you're able to rebuild. Like there's nothing that will replace your loved one, but there's a comfort and a rebuilding that happens.
I like that. That is
and
a
so
really
I would
good
be encouraged and know that you will get to the other spaces in it, and that God is faithful. I think that's one thing that I always, when I think about my time of worship, I always say, God, you're faithful. Like you are going to do like what you said that you will do. Like your word does not come back void. So if you said that you are going to comfort me, like I'm going to reap that blessing in Matthew. Like if your word says in Isaiah that you're going to bind up the brokenhearted and you'll give them beauty for ashes and the oil of joy instead of mourning and the garment of praise instead of despair, like my praise is going to come back because your word said you were going to do it. Like you are going to help me in this season. And God is a promise keeper. Like he never fails. And so I think even in the most difficult moments in this holiday season, my encouragement would be to just stand on the word of God and know that God is going to do do a great exchange. Coming
Yes,
back to
he
the
is.
conference.
Yes, he
He's
is.
gonna do a great exchange. Yeah.
I love it. That was so good, actually. She, as she was talking, I was thinking about the fact that God is down for your process. I said that with a little bit of
I love
slang,
it.
but meaning he's not looking at you negatively in whatever phase of grief that you're in. If you're in an intense season of grief, he's just, he's walking with you there. If you're in a lighter season, he's walking with you there. Whatever phase of grief or your process is, he is really down for you, and he wants to be the comforter to your life. And I'm in the beginning stages, and I just feel God walking with me through every piece. So my encouragement is that he is, like Ashley said, faithful. He is a promise keeper. I have seen him respond to me. I have a friend that says, God is so responsive to you. And through my grief process, I've opened myself up to hear his responses. So I'm thankful. I'm thankful for my pastor who has walked with me, for Ashley who walked with me through a lot of my father passing. It was a very challenging time, but I know that you can get through it, and that have your safe spaces. I wanted to say that too. A safe space where you can lament, again, as I was talking about before. Have your sisters in Christ, have your pastors, your mentors, people who can speak into your life when you're feeling that breakdown. Don't hold it in. Make sure that you're sharing so that you can heal properly.
And that's what community is
Yes.
for.
Yeah.
We know that God is near to the brokenhearted, and we also know that weeping may endure for a night, but
joy
joy
comes in the morning.
So get excited about the joy. And as we kind of delve into the second part of this holiday season, y'all, I just want to say that I'm excited that we get to celebrate Jesus.
Amen.
And keeping the focus where the focus should be.
Yes.
We know that in westernized Christianity that some of the holidays would be considered pagan and all of that stuff. We can go into that, but when you do it for the right reason, and in this season, and you are keeping in mind that Jesus is about Jesus, and teaching your family, your kids that, and sharing that with the people around you, and not being ashamed to celebrate Jesus in this season is such an amazing testimony that we have. So while we dove in and do all of the gift giving and shopping and all of that, I don't know. I've been to one store. That's it. That's it. I don't know. This online thing.
Online shopping.
This online
Online
shopping
is where it's
is
at.
incredible.
Yes, it is.
I was like, it's just easy.
Click.
Right.
Okay, it's on its way.
Absolutely.
What
And
do we
then
do
now-
before Prime?
Right.
I know.
What do we do? Now we're waiting for stuff to come. Like, I'm just
Yep.
checking my emails to make sure
Absolutely.
that packages came, because stuff get lost and people steal your packages.
Yes,
So
true.
you have to be careful with that. But I just am so excited about celebrating Jesus in this season. If there's one thing that you could say that you want from God in this season, what would it be?
Wow. Oh my gosh.
The one thing that I want from him in this season, I just think I continue to want my intimacy and my rhythm to be just rock solid. That I'm being with him more than doing. Like, doing is important, but I want my be to be stronger than my do.
I love it. I love it. Ashley?
Oh, this is so hard.
I know.
This was not on the question.
It was not.
I just want you to know that I
for
just
people.
threw a curve. I just threw him a curveball.
I know.
Praying for people. I'm like,
Wow.
man, I don't know, Tam. That one was good.
I
think I would have to say, like, my rhythms, I don't know, in my singleness, man.
I know
sometimes,
it.
like,
I
transport me
remember
back
that.
to
I
China's
know.
all the time.
We do.
I mean, I love my husband. Okay,
I
like,
know.
take him with me. But I'm just like, that
Yes,
single
it's
season
such
where
a
you just
different
have
rhythm.
that.
Yeah, all
That's a
that
whole-
time
that's
with
a whole
God.
episode.
Yeah.
We need to do a whole episode
so I
on that.
think, but you know what? I would say it's dual though. So I think in addition to the rhythms and my intimacy with the Lord, I want my children there with me. Like, I am so laser focused on discipleship. I think right
That's
now
good.
for my kids, like, and so yes, I think that is like one of my focuses for 2025
Hallelujah.
is just like just like giving them Jesus, like
Yeah.
simply
That's
put,
good.
like, you know, just simply put, like giving them Jesus, like reading the word with them. Like that's some of my favorite times with my kids, like reading the word with them or teaching them a memory scripture or
That's
teaching
good.
them, like when you hear them pray after they,
That's
you know, and you're
great.
like, okay, God, they got
Yes, that's
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Those
So-
are the best. I
Yeah,
can't
those are good. Well, I have adult children,
Yes.
so I'm just grateful for
Yeah.
all of my kids knowing God, and it doesn't matter what stage they're in their lives. It's that you have planted all of the seeds. So I will say to y'all, plant all the seeds in your children's life. Along with planting the seeds, let them see your relationship with God blooming in front of their eyes, so that when they fall into trouble or when they have trauma in their lives, they know exactly what to do.
Yeah.
Because you've modeled how to get through and how to process these things in the Lord.
Yeah.
And you've shown them what dependency on God looks like. You've shown them what it looks like to put Jesus in the center of your life. And it is so important. So even with it being the holidays, we still have work to do,
Yes,
right?
we do.
We have work to do in our families in teaching them who Christ is. This teaching in your families, it never ends. Ladies, it never ever ends. You have to model Christ in the spiritual disciplines that you have. You have to model Christ as a disciple, but more than that, you have to model Christ with being a discipler.
Yeah.
Discipling your children, discipling others that God has sent your way. Each of us are assigned to somebody, and God has assigned a certain group of people just to hear the words that He has given you about who Christ is, based on your testimony and based on the wisdom that He's given you, each one of you. So in this season, let's disciple some people. Let's draw some people to Christ. Let's tell them about our Jesus, so that when we're celebrating, they know why we're celebrating. Because we go hard because He goes hard for us.
right.
So listen, ladies, we want to just thank you for joining us for another episode of the WOE podcast. This is how we do it, real talk, as ladies, intergenerational, just sharing our hearts and sharing our experiences. In this podcast, we want to be transparent. We want to be genuine and authentic. And every guest that we bring on nails it, and they share something special with our audience. We thank you for watching. We thank you for sharing this year with us with WOE podcast. And we know that there are great things in store next year. We just want to update you and let you know that next year we're not going to have one a month. We're going to have 2 a month. So get ready for expansion for WOE podcast. So that means more topics, more guests. If you have some topics that you would like us to cover, hey, put it in our chat. Let us know so that we can cover some topics that you would be interested in. And with everything that we've said today, we want you to have a happy holiday. So Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you. We'll see you in January. God bless.